Welcome. Last Wednesday, Joe Harris gave a talk about Bezout's theorem in algebraic geometry, and I wondered whether this is actually a theorem which should replace the fundamental theorem of algebra, because it's more general and more exciting than the fundamental theorem of algebra. So here is my personal favorite list of 10 theorems, fundamental theorems in mathematics, and it's hard to kind of wiggle this and change this. Maybe the fundamental theorem of algebra should be replaced by Bezout's theorem, and maybe the pigeonhole principle should be replaced by the fundamental theorem of linear algebra, which involves also the pigeonhole principle, but they are less well known. Very well known is the fundamental theorem of algebra. I have it here, and I have here also my favorite proof of the fundamental theorem of algebra, which uses the Lefschetz fixed point theorem. And I thought, and also during this talk already on Wednesday, whether there is maybe some way to get the fundamental theorem of algebra done in finite mathematics, combinatorially. The main problem for doing that is that we don't have a good notion of polynomial map in the finite. We have finite versions of spheres, right? We can take a discrete sphere. That's a icosahedron is a discrete two-sphere. It's a discrete complex projective line, right? CP1, which is the Riemann sphere. And so you can look at maps on this finite space. And my theorem here, the Lefschetz, the analog of the Lefschetz fixed point theorem in the discrete, tells that if you have a simplicial map, then the Lefschetz theorem works. So the sum of the indices is the supertrace on cohomology. The difficulty is that if you have a polynomial map, there is no simplicial map which works. And I battled for a while. I talked about this here, kind of how to extend this. There's also no continuous map. But I thought now maybe we have just to generalize maps a little bit different, thinking about pointless topology, where you don't look at maps coming from points, from zero-dimensional points, but just maps on open sets. But that actually kind of seems to work. So this is the key definition. We define a generalized simplicial map as just a map which takes a vertex and it maps it, instead of mapping it to a point, maps it to a contractible set. Contractible set plays somehow a role of a point. It's homotopic to a point, so it behaves like a point. So if you have that, you can model now maps which are expanding. Like also here I have a simple example in one dimension. This is kind of 2 dimensions, 1 dimension, where you kind of look at the map t square or z square on the circle, or you look at the map, the doubling map on the circle. This is a discrete version, and you want to have a fixed point theorem for that. That doesn't come from that doesn't define a simplicial map, because it rips things apart, right? 2 goes to 4, and 1 goes to 2. So it rips simplices apart. And that's what happens when you have a polynomial map, right? It rips things apart because it expands. And so that's the definition of a simplicial map. We kind of a more general simplicial map. It's a correspondence, but it's better to think about this as just a map which maps simplicial complexes into simplicial complexes. It maps open sets to open sets. I think that's a good notion, which is what happens also in the continuum. And then we define just this is a cheap way. We define the polynomial map just as a map which behaves correctly with respect to the volume form. So the volume form is multiplied by n. Kind of on the cohomology, kind of a volume form gets just, you have an n cover. And so we also want to have something like a, complex map is, complex map preserves orientation. That's what Joe Harris was kind of pointing out also during his talk when he talked about the, Bezout theorem. So that's very important, so that we have, that's actually when you're proving it, what happens is if you have a fixed point, it's a finite fixed point has it's by Cauchy-Riemann, just a rotation dilation, and at infinity it's a contraction. So very important is to go from zeros, from roots, to fixed points. It looks as if this is the same, right? If you look at t, z is f, z plus c, then the fixed point of z is the same as the root of f. But there is a difference in that we have also infinity as a fixed point. The right way to think about it as about the fundamental theorem of algebra is not to think about roots, but about fixed points. But then you have n plus 1 fixed points. Now, if you think about it like this, then Lefschetz theorem is kind of immediately gives you the result, because what happens is you have, in this case, the cohomology is 1, 0, 1. It's a two-sphere, right? So there's a volume form and there is a zero form. And in the complex two-dimensional projective plane, you would have then 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. And you could also do the same thing. So you have an induced map on cohomology, and what happens on the highest cohomology on the volume form, it just gets multiplied by n. In Bezout theorem, it gets multiplied by n times m. And so we have the supertraces just in the case of the simple case of the, the one-dimensional Bezout is the fundamental theorem of algebra. You have just n here, and then you have also the trace on the zero cohomology. So there is here no trace on the middle cohomology, because the middle cohomology is contractible. So we don't have that. In the case of the two-dimensional projective plane, we have a middle cohomology, and this middle cohomology there, just nothing happens by deformation. There is no trace on the middle one, is also zero. So you have really the right thing. The Lefschetz number is n plus 1 here for any polynomial map on the Riemann sphere. If you have a polynomial map of degree nm on the complex projective plane, then it's n plus 1. Now, this means by the Lefschetz fixed point theorem, this means we have n plus 1 fixed points, or n plus 1 for the Bezout theorem. So then one fixed point, of course, is at infinity. So that's the proof of the fundamental theorem of algebra. Is almost a joke if you know the Lefschetz fixed point theorem. One has tried, Arnold, I think, was the first to try to reduce it to the Brouwer fixed point theorem, which is a special case of contractible, but I think it didn't work. But so there are many simple proofs of the fundamental theorem of algebra if you use more, theory. And this is kind of a, relatively heavy theory. You use the Lefschetz fixed point theorem. Now in the discrete, it's even much easier, because we have now kind of just finite sets. We are working on finite sets. But as we said, we cannot use a simplicial map. We cannot use a map which maps, simplices to simplices. It rips things apart, so we have to generalize this. And my suggestion is to look at maps which map a point to a contractible set, kind of a generalized point. And so generalized points are mapped into generalized points. And the Lefschetz theorem should work the same way. The same proof, the deformation proof, heat deformation by McKean-Singer. You look at the deformation, the heat flow at t equal to 0. You get the sum of the indices at t equal to infinity, where you have projected everything onto cohomology. You get the Lefschetz number. So I think that I have still to write this down, but I don't think there is any difficulty here. And then you can just apply this to the cheap way to define polynomial maps on a finite simplicial complex by just assuming that we have on the volume, we have that, or we have a kind of, if you're on a discrete two-dimensional, like an icosahedron, you just want to have a kind of an n-fold cover. And that's a polynomial map of, and we want also to have some orientation preservation, so that the indices have non-negative index so that the counting works. And that works in the complex. That's why complex analysis is so elegant. Now, let me just illustrate this. I've still to kind of look at examples. Illustrate it in a much simpler situation where you already need that generalized framework. If you look at the map TV is equal to 2v on a cyclic graph or cyclic complex, kind of you just multiply by 2 modulo 6. What happens is then things get, of course, the derivative is 2, so you get things are ripped apart. So 0 gets mapped into that, 1 gets mapped into that. So that's kind of a definition of that's an example of a generalized simplicial map, right? Every of the vertices gets mapped to a contractible set. Now this means also that every sub-simplicial complex gets mapped into a sub-simplicial complex, but it's no more contractible in general if you take unions. But the point has to go into a generalized point. And then what we have here, we actually see 3 fixed points. So the theory tells us that we have 3 fixed points. What happens here, so this doubling map has now induces also a map on cohomology, but it actually is reversing the orientation. You see that here, right? If you take 0, 5, this is actually a fixed point, it gets reflected. So that's kind of a little bit of a, so the supertrace on cohomology is still 3, and you should see 3 fixed points. I have to think about this a little bit more and look at more examples and see also examples of, polynomial maps in the discrete and see whether that works. I'll certainly come back to this in the future. That's it for today.